Well, good morning, everybody. Just gonna be a quick video this morning. Wow, what rain we had last night. I saw baseball fields flooded. My pool is overflowing. So today we're continuing to read through Jeremiah. Chapters, what was it, 4, 5, 6. Hopefully you can hear me with this wind. I'm trying to shelter the mic here. Jeremiah 4, 5, 6. And here we're dealing with something in Jeremiah. It was an easy matter for Israel to repent. It wasn't difficult, or Judah, I should say. All they had to do was swear to God to live by truth, justice, and righteousness. That's all he wanted from them, is to swear that they recognized that these were values that were important to him. Truth, justice, and righteousness. And then all would be forgiven. It was as simple as that. But the people were determined to do their own thing, to go their own way. They really didn't care about these values. They struck out on their own, which was the problem, and still is the problem today. When we want to do our own thing, we want to worship God on the side, but live like we want to live according to the values that we deem to be important. And people will say, well, what's wrong with that as long as you have values? We live by every word that proceeds the mouth of God. Every word that he speaks, those are our values. Our thoughts are not as high as his thoughts. Our ways are nothing compared to his ways. And to know his acts is to know what he does. But to know his ways, that's to know who he is. And that's what this is about, is knowing his heart and living his heart, and doing what he says is important, because we love him and he loves us, and that's all that matters to us. This is how we progress. This is how we decide what is important, and do what we need to do. So it's also the problem, and Jeremiah pointed this out. The problem comes when the people don't realize how big he is, who he is. They don't realize his size, like who he says, if you knew me, if you knew, you wouldn't question me protecting the borders and this sort of thing. And that is, again, part of our problem today. We don't walk humbly before him because we don't really know who he is. We're willing to understand according to the limit of our imagination. That's what we're willing, as far as we're willing to go with that. We're not willing to let him be as big as he is, as holy as he is, as righteous as he is. We will worship what we understand. We fail to recognize that there's more. That's where the real problem is, in letting him be as big as he is. And I'm floundering here a little bit to try to express this, and I've expressed it many times. One of the books that has really changed my whole approach to walk humbly before the Lord is one of Towser's books that goes into all the details of who God is, and deals with this largeness of God. And we want to define him. We want to define his behaviors. We want to define him. And we don't get to do that because even our imagination cannot comprehend who he is. And all we have is the manifestations that he's given to us of his greatness. We can read of his greatness in the Word. We can see his greatness in our lives. But this is only a small part of who he is. And we will not live up to the standards he set before us in relationship, dealing with relationship here, not law. If we're not willing to understand he goes beyond our imagination. We will always question why this and why that if we cannot accept the fact that his wisdom is beyond our comprehension. He can give us a taste of it. He can allow us to get glimpses of it, but in its totality, no, that's impossible. So so when he says this is righteous, we trust that that is righteous, because all of this comes from a foundation of love. It's not a matter of he's bigger than we are, so we do what he says. We look at the manifestation of his love, and we know that he loves us, and we trust his goodness because he is good. We can trust his largeness because he is good, and he is for us, and he's fighting for us, and he's rooting for us, and he's equipping us so that we can overcome all things. There has to be a point where we trust not because of his largeness alone, but because of the largeness of his love for us. I hope you can grasp this. Hope you can understand this. Because he is as powerful as he is, we can trust that he's able to save us. We can trust he's able to protect us. We can trust that he's able to provide for us. But because his love is as large as it is, we can trust that he wants to. He wants to protect us. He wants to provide for us. He wants to defend us. So you put the two of them together, and we have no grounds whatsoever to distrust him. We have no grounds for fear or worry. We have no grounds to leave his safety and try to find our own solutions. We have no grounds for that because of who he is. I think that's as much as I'm going to try to explain. Israel or Judah blew it because they got to a point where they thought they knew better than God. They didn't need him. They worshipped other gods because they thought that other gods could provide for them what Yahweh couldn't. And that's impossible because they have no power, they have no love, they have nothing. And that can go for the ideologies of today. They're empty. They don't have anything to provide for us, like Yahweh has to provide for us. And this is what we have to demonstrate in our lives. So people will say, I want what you have. The peace that you have is just incredible. I want that. The love that you live, I want that. But when we want to worship a little God, we want to find our own solutions. People aren't going to want that because they can find that anywhere. Make sense? Have a blessed and wonderful day, folks. Seek his face. Allow him to be as big as he is. Let him love you with the largeness of his love. And trust. Trust that he is able, and trust that he desires. God bless.